welcome to SAIT Newsfile. I'm Emmanuel Pointe-Jour. Taranjot Vinning will have a look at all the highlights later in the show. What can we expect, Taranjot?
Yeah, we can expect a lot of highlights from playoffs in the NHL, NBA, so I'm looking forward to that.
Me too. Noah Adler has been enjoying the spring-like temperatures. How is it looking out there, Noah?
Well, Emmanuel, I'm currently outside here and we're sitting at a high of 10 degrees, but we got a bit of wind that's gusting through the city right now. And today's high is better than the high that we had last year at this time, which was a high of 9 degrees. But if we're talking historical purposes, you have to go all the way back to 1936 for the record high set on April 18th, which was sitting at a high of 27.2 degrees. But if we want to talk about record lows, the record low was set back in 1951 as we sat at a high of minus 17.8 degrees. Boy, I would not want to be in that weather back then. But that's enough of me. I will be back with you later on SAIT Newsfile to take a look at the weather. Back to you, Emmanuel.
Thanks, Noah. Now here's a look at today's top stories. Violent crime continues in Calgary at an alarming rate. Just this morning, a woman's body was found in southeast community of Forest Lawn, and the death is being called suspicious. Over the weekend, there was a disturbing incident in the southwest involving the death of 2 individuals in what police are calling a murder-suicide. A woman fell several stories to her death and was followed minutes later by a man who police believed jumped from the same window. Many questions remain for CPS into the events leading up to the horrific incident. Chelsea Kavanaugh has been following the story and joins us live from the scene. Chelsea, what's the update there?
Well, Emmanuel, as you can see, I'm in the Westbrook Mall area, and the building complex behind me here is in a very public space, and many people in the surrounding area witnessed the disturbing event.
Being a police officer that have seen something like this.
Flowers and a candle were placed just outside of the apartment complex where a woman was thrown off the balcony to her death. Just after 7 on Saturday night, police were called to the 100 block of Spruce Place where several bystanders had found a woman dead. While assessing the scene, a man jumped to his death from an upper-level balcony. Both of the deceased have been identified, 69-year-old Joanne Suk Wat Si and 61-year-old Di Lin Tang. Residents in the complex say the event was very traumatizing.
We didn't have enough information of what's going on, except there are 2 people dead. Is it related to any gang, or is it related? We didn't know the full story, and I have 2 kids here in the building, so we want to make sure that everything is safe.
Information on the nature of the relationship between Si and Tang remains very scarce as CPS continues to reach out to family and friends of Si. Police say Si's hands and feet were tied when she was found. Both victims died of blunt force trauma. Experts say the lack of background information is not surprising, as many similar incidents of domestic violence often go unreported and unnoticed.
The thing that made it most shocking was the manner in which the deaths occurred. If that had been a domestic that had taken place within inside of a home and maybe someone was shot, it would get some play.
According to CPS, the relationship between the 2 was fairly new, and they're currently asking for the public's help in locating Tang's vehicle, which they believe could provide a significant break in the case.
We've checked the residence, it's not there, so it just leaves that question, well, where is it? How did he get there? And maybe somebody that has that vehicle can answer some of those questions for us.
The police victim support team was also on site at the incident to help out any witnesses who may have been affected. CPS say they are also still available by phone. Anyone with information on the incident is asked to contact police immediately as the investigation continues. Back to you, Emmanuel.
That was Chelsea Kavanaugh reporting live from the Spruce Cliff area. A political war is fully underway over the Alberta political election. Both Danielle Smith and Rachel Notley have been under siege during their campaigns, but recently not about their policies, but how they are handling the media. Travis Neal has this full story on the battle of words.
Wild couple weeks in the world of politics as both Danielle Smith and Rachel Notley have been under fire. The current premier of Alberta has recently taken flack for saying she'll only be answering 1 question per reporter and no follow-ups will be allowed.
A follow-up for years, and I don't understand why we don't have a follow-up this time.
Audrey, it's an election. That's why we're sort of getting into election mode, and so we've lots of people who want to answer questions.
Anything.
Notley and the NDP fired back at the UCP at their most recent news conference, indirectly calling out the Smith government.
So thank you very much, and I want to make it very clear that I'm happy to take any questions from the media and any follow-up questions. Thank you.
But at that very same conference, Notley ignored questions from one news organization, as well as getting another reporter removed from the meeting. She claims she made the move because both reporters work for an organization that are discriminatory. With the provincial election set for May 29th and the UCP and NDP governments focusing on each other's mess-ups, it's leaving the voters of the city uncertain on where their vote lands.
I was looking at voting NDP. I do need to do a little bit of more research on my own, given the fact that it seems everything is focused around this controversy and attack ads one way or the other. So I'd take a little bit more time to make my opinion and a decision.
SAIT students are not the only ones that are feeling uncertain about where their vote lands, with some polls showing the undecided voters are sitting quite high.
Well, we are seeing, according to polling, sort of a gradual move in the direction of greater support for the NDP. And we're still a ways away from the election. And there are a lot of undecided voters. Some polls are pegging the undecideds as high as 25% of the electorate.
Advance voting for the election takes place May 23rd to May 27th, with the official results being announced June 8th. For SAIT Newsfile, I'm Travis Neal.
The annual inflation rate has steadily been declining, but with the rapid rise in the Bank of Canada's interest rate, it's starting to halt any summer plans for Canadians. Following a year that saw rising interest rates push up costs, Canadians are paying on their debt. Roughly 6 in 10 respondents say they're prioritizing other expenses over travel. While overall inflation has eased from the highs seen last summer, price pressures have been sticky on the service side, affecting expenses like hotels, dining out, and travel. Per a poll from Ipsos, 62% are scaling back their vacation plans. 61% are blaming the inflation and the economy. 24% can't afford a vacation, and 13% plan to spend more on a trip this summer. Over 1,000 Canadians were interviewed for this poll. WestJet pilots have voted overwhelmingly in favor of a strike mandate. The Airline Pilots Association says the 1,600 WestJet pilot it represents go on a strike as early as the week leading up to May long weekend. WestJet said last month a threat of a strike is a part of a common tactic in negotiations. This could have an impact on many passengers who are looking to book flights for the airline.
Domestic flights, passengers will be without much help in the event of a strike. WestJet will be required to rebook passengers after 48 hours on flights of competitor airlines.
Continue and will end April 24th, followed by a 3-week break unless parties agree to extend negotiations. A project that would have modernized one of Calgary's oldest neighborhoods has been put on hold. As Brett Lipkiski reports, the history of the area is something the city doesn't want to lose.
Downtown was set to undergo a major facelift. That was until commercial real estate company TrioVest withdrew its permits for a 3-tower project on historic Stephen Avenue. While the project would give Stephen Avenue a chance to add a residential vibe to help liven up the area's nightlife, TrioVest was unable to preserve the architectural integrity of some of Calgary's oldest buildings.
Some of these buildings date from the 1890s, some of the oldest buildings in the downtown. Of course, our downtown was raised in 1886 with the Great Fire, and so everything after that was built out of sandstone, and that's why we became the sandstone city.
Calgary Heritage isn't opposed to the idea of development within Calgary, but it does believe it needs to be done in a way that won't affect the city's history. This project also would have given Calgary a chance to grow from within instead of simply building outwards into the urban sprawl. The scrapped Stephen Avenue project to revitalize the downtown area would have included a 66-story condo tower and a 54-story rental tower.
I think one of the most important things we want to see is whatever we do in Stephen Avenue Mall or in 7th Avenue itself, it has to reflect the overall character of the area. So preservation of history, heritage of our buildings is important to do.
Hotel capacity space is another area where the city wants to make upgrades to try and boost tourism downtown. Despite the setback, the City of Calgary has been working hard to update its downtown core and is confident it will continue to make improvements.
I can tell you that 2 years into our 10-year plan for downtown revitalization, we're already at 30% of target. So although it's disappointing when a project has to take a pause, I remain very optimistic that we will see many more.
TrioVest say it isn't abandoning the project completely, but instead it will regroup with a new plan in the future. For SAIT Newsfile, I'm Brett Lipkowski.
With the Calgary Flames being eliminated from playoff contention, local bars and pubs will miss out on the playoff boom. This will surely affect businesses throughout the city not being able to host playoff parties and other playoff events. Calgarians are still expected to hit the bars, but even pubs like Trolley 5 will miss the large attendance of people who come to watch the Flames in the playoffs.
Well, it definitely hurts, any of the sporting pubs, not just downtown, but out in the suburbs as well. Fine dining, our premium casual restaurants where everyone goes to have dinner prior to those games, that'll be missed, especially during the midweek. It's definitely a little bit of a loss for sure.
You may still want to watch Calgary playoff hockey. The Calgary Wranglers are sitting first in the entire league and will be looking to be competitive in this year's playoffs. It's out with the new and in with the old, as Calgarians are turning to vintage resellers for all the latest clothing trends. Some small businesses are proving they're a more ethical way to shop. Ella Matt has more.
The average person only wears 20% of their clothes 80% of the time. But many individuals have given their clothes a second chance by reselling them at vintage markets.
There's so much fabric and articles filling our landfills, and right now vintage clothing is such a huge trend. So all of us that have been doing this just for passion, now we have a whole clientele that just comes here because they love vintage.
The Relove Market and others like it host monthly pop-up sales around Calgary. It has become a non-traditional way to sell clothes. Instead of going to the mall, resellers pay a fee to occupy a stall at the market in the hopes of selling their collection. These markets have grown in popularity and have gained a fan base of secondhand shoppers.
I think that's the way things need to go, and I already buy a lot of thrift already, so I am always willing to spend more money thrift than I am elsewhere.
Many resellers got involved in the reselling scene because of their concern for the environment and ethics of the fashion industry.
Fashion is the second largest pollutant in the world, which is huge if you think about it. A lot of the times companies such as Shein, fast fashion companies, are pumping out thousands of pieces a day or new items a day, and the quality is just terrible. Working conditions are terrible. It's not ethical at all.
With fast fashion on the rise, it can become discouraging finding clothing that's ethically sourced, environmentally friendly, and good on the wallet. But with more small businesses and pop-ups coming into the scene, having your own sense of style can be much more attainable. For SAIT Newsfile, I'm Ella Matt.
Those are today's top stories. We'll have your full forecast after the break, but first, Noah Adler has a look at what's going around Calgary this week.
If you're looking for a laugh, go check out Moment Dell, who will be performing at the Laugh Shop on Blackfoot Trail from April 19th to April 22nd. Tickets available on Show Pass. Mayonnaise and Nobita will be performing at the Calgary Chinese Center on Friday, April 21st. Tickets available on allevents.in. The Genesis Center is hosting the Fiber Scheiden, an event that specializes in arts and craft, taking place at the Genesis Center on April 22nd. Tickets available on allevents.in. Head on down to Princess Island Park for Earth Day cleanup in Calgary on April 22nd. Tickets available on Chatterblock. If you want to experience what life on the farm is like, no look further than Aggie Days. Tickets available on todocanada.ca. Youth athletes are invited to the Flames Community Arena to come try Ringgets on April 23rd. Tickets available on Come Try Ringgets.
Did you know that having your pet neutered can increase their lifespan? While pets that are not neutered are at a high risk of infection and disease. When adopting a pet, the Rescue Friends Animal Foundation pets available for adoptions are already neutered. Adopt your own neutered pet at Rescued Friends.
Come and learn the breaking world of broadcast news.
Find your passion to investigate, write, shoot, edit, and deliver the stories of the day. SAIT's broadcast news program teaches you everything you need to know for a career in radio and television. Become the next great anchor, reporter, or personality using industry-standard technology alongside qualified instructors with years of experience. This is Broadcast News. Come and dare to be on air.
Welcome back. Well, we've been seeing some pretty consistent early spring weather here in the city, but before we check that out, let's take a look at what's going on throughout the country, beginning in the West Coast. So as you can see down in Vancouver, they have a high pressure system, but that's also going to create some clouds, which is also going to result in some rain. And as we move towards the prairies, Regina is sitting at a low pressure system, which is going to cause some snow. Not ideal. And then as we move into Manitoba, they're also going to be having the high pressure system, which is also going to result in some cloudiness coming through, which can sit high at 10 degrees. Now, as we move to the East Coast, Toronto is going to be having a high pressure system as well, which is going to be causing some sun and cloud. So if your Leaf fans going to Maple Leaf Square, make sure you bundle up. And in Montreal, they're going to also be having a high pressure system and a high of 10 degrees. But as we move towards the upper parts of the Atlantic, we're going to be seeing some rain in both Halifax and St. John's. Now let's take a look at what's going on in the resorts.
Taking a look at the resorts, Palm Springs is sunny and 28. Barbados also sitting at 28 with sun and cloud. Cancun and Honolulu are both sitting at a high of 27. Orlando is 28 and sunny. In the Sin City, Las Vegas is 26 with sun and cloud.
Currently in the city, we sit at a high of 10 degrees with some sunny conditions. We've got that southeast wind coming in at 12 kilometers an hour, but we're going to be expecting some precipitation beginning tomorrow in the city. But as we look at the province here, so Grand Prairie has a high pressure system at a high of 7 degrees. But as you move down throughout the rest of the province through Edmonton, Red Deer, Calgary, Medicine Hat, Lethbridge, they're all having high pressure systems within the early to mid-teens. But Banff is the lowest of those temperatures, sitting at a high of 5 degrees. Now, let's take a look at the 5-day forecast in the city of Calgary. So we're going to be sitting at a low of -1 with some cloudy temperatures tonight. Tomorrow is going to be a mix of sun and cloud at a high of 10 degrees. On Thursday, it will be cloudy at a high of -1. On Friday, will be high of 5 with mix of sun and cloud. And on Saturday, will also be mix of sun and cloud at a high of 10 degrees. Coming up next is Taryn Jodvinning with sports.
I used to hear voices. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. I don't matter. Walked around in circles, didn't know where to go. Until I found my purpose. Through people that helped me live a better life and build a better future. Now I can finally see that I'm able, capable, and worthy.
Come and learn the fast-paced world of television production. Find your passion to write, shoot, edit, and direct news, sports, and dramatic productions. With industry-standard technology and the best instructors in the business, SAIT's television production program teaches you everything you need to know for a career in broadcasting. This is television production. Come and dare to be on air.
Welcome back to SAIT Newsfile. Taranjot Vinning joins us now for a look at the latest highlights. What can we expect, Taranjot?
Well, there's a lot of playoff action happening in the NHL with the Stanley Cup playoffs, and the NBA playoffs are underway as well, so we'll take a look at everything going on with those playoffs.
Okay.
A new era for the Calgary Flames has now arrived, as change is now underway in the front office of the team. On Monday morning, the Calgary Flames announced that they mutually agreed to part ways with general manager Brad Treliving. Treliving was the team's GM for 9 years, having been hired back on April 28, 2014. The team had a winning record altogether in those 9 years, but failed to do some damage in the playoffs. Don Maloney, the new interim GM, mentioned on Monday that the last few days have been rough for the organization.
Today is not a good day for me. It's not. Stanley Cup playoffs start tonight, and we're not playing. Number one. Number two is, get emotional, sorry. Brad Treliving is a good friend, a and I think a very good hockey man.
The Flames' process to nail down the services of a new GM will begin immediately. The Stanley Cup playoffs are here, as many teams get ready to battle for the prestigious prize, the Stanley Cup. The Edmonton Oilers kicked things off last night in their series against the LA Kings. 7 minutes into the opening frame, Leon Draisaitl would fire off a howitzer off a feed from Matthias Janmark to break the ice in Game 1. Look at that celebration. He looks fired up to be in the playoffs right now. 6 minutes later, the Oilers would find themselves on the power play, and Evan Bouchard walks in and goes bar down to make it too early. 2-0 for early on for his squad. The score would remain the same until the third period, when Adrian Kempe would toss home a nifty little backhander. Kempe would add another in the third, and with just 16.7 seconds remaining in regulation, Andrei Kopitar would tap home a puck that snuck past Stuart Skinner. And to finish things off, Alex Iafallo would complete the comeback in overtime with a beautiful tic-tac-toe goal. Leon Draisaitl's 2 goals wouldn't be enough to lead the charge, as the Oilers choke a 3-1 lead, with the Kings now taking a 1-0 series lead right off the bat. The Kings got 2 out of 4 goals on the power play off some untimely penalties taken by the Oilers. The two teams will return to action on Wednesday in Game 2 of the Game 7 series. Taking a look at the rest of the Stanley Cup playoff bracket, things are now starting to shape up a little. There are 4 series kicking things off tonight, as the New York Rangers face off against the New Jersey Devils in the new Hudson River rivalry. The Tampa Bay Lightning take on the Maple Leafs in a rematch at 5:30. Later on, the Jets beam down to Sin City, going head-to-head against the Golden Knights at 7:30. And lastly, the Kraken make their first ever playoff appearance against the defending Stanley Cup champions in the Colorado Avalanche at 8. In other hockey action, another rivalry matchup was back on ice as Team Canada faced off against Team USA in the gold medal game at the 2023 Women's World Championship in Brampton. Things got off very quickly about 7 minutes in. The Canadians on the power play, and Captain Canada Marie-Philippe Poulin fired home a rocket. Towards the end of the first, the pesky Americans would answer right back with Abby Murphy sniping one pass and Renee Desbiens. The back and forth action remained as the second period, Brianne Jenner snaps one past Frankel to grab the lead. The Americans would answer right back as Captain Hilary Knight grabs one of her 3 goals on the night. In the third, Carolyn Harvey walks in and goes top shelf to tie it at 3. And Captain Hilary Knight would complete the comeback, sniping 2 more home to steal the gold medal from Team Canada on home soil. Desbiens puts up a rough effort between the pipes for Team Canada as the momentum quickly shifted right over to the American side. Tough loss for Team Canada on home soil. The NBA playoffs are also underway as the Sacramento Kings faced off against the Golden State Warriors last night in Game 2. The Kings did not miss a beat as they started the game off with a dunk contest like first quarter. The two teams would exchange some big threes all throughout the night as Klay Thompson and Malik Monk were on fire from downtown. The Kings, led by De'Aaron Fox, would be too much for the defending NBA champs as they take a 2-0 series lead. De'Aaron Fox put up a monstrous 38 points with Malik Monk right behind him with 32 points off the bench. A good night from the Splash Brothers, Klay Thompson and Stephen Curry, wouldn't be enough to propel the Warriors past the Kings, and they are now in a tough but manageable hole going down the stretch. The Toronto Blue Jays are off to a hot start in the 2023 MLB season, but feels like they left that back in the 6th when they landed in Houston. In bottom of the first inning, Astros first baseman Jose Abreu launches one to deep center field with 2 men on base and drives home 2 runs. Still in the first, Astros rookie Corey Julks hits one to left field and sends home another 2 runs. Later on, we're still in the first, guys. Jake Mayers goes deep, promptly unloading the bases, grabbing a home run to make it 7-0. To stop the bleeding a little later in the second inning, Matt Chapman continues his hot start, delivering his 4th home run on the year. That wouldn't be enough, and that's not the way you want to start off a series, as the Astros rout the Blue Jays 9-2. The Astros get production from their young guns, and on the other hand, the Blue Jays' weapons stayed quiet all night. The Jays and Astros are back in action in an hour and a half's time. And that's a look at sports.
Well, it's going to be interesting where the Flames go, especially with the fire of their GM.
Yeah, it's interesting. They've never been in this position in a while, so it's kind of interesting to see what the Flames will do. I think there's a lot of candidates on the table right now. I know Daryl Sutter has a good friend in Mike Fuda. He was with him on the LA Kings.
Yep.
And there's a lot of people saying that Craig Conroy, he's a part of the GM staff for the Calgary Flames right now. He's another candidate. And there could be an outside hire depending on what teams in the NHL do. The playoffs, like the Toronto Maple Leafs, they're an interesting team as well. As Kyle Dubas, his name might be on the radar if they do end up losing in the first round again. Yeah. So it'll be interesting. Even the NBA, I know you love the NBA. Yeah, so the Kings and Warriors, how do you feel about that? Yeah, light the beam. Malik Monk off the bench, so that's crazy how well he's done. De'Aaron Fox has done well as well, and it's crazy to think that even 16 years after 16 years, the Kings in the playoffs. It's kind of surreal to even see them. I don't think I've ever seen them in the playoffs in my lifetime until now. So yeah, that'll be good.
It's going to be interesting playoffs. After the break, we'll take a look at how the city is attracting more international students.
What do you think of when you hear the word home? A place to rest, a place to play, a place for friends and family to gather. There are people in the city who unfortunately don't have that. They only have a house. WINS wants to change that. Donate household items to the House to Home program and help make a house a home again. It's only when you have homes that you have a community.
Come and learn the fast-paced world of television production. Find your passion to write, shoot, edit, and direct news, sports, and dramatic productions. With industry-standard technology and the best instructors in the business, SAIT's television production program teaches you everything you need to know for a career in broadcasting. This is television production. Come and dare to be on air.
The city of Calgary continues to attract thousands of international students seeking post-secondary education. But how well are these students able to adapt to their new environment?
The beautiful city of Calgary plays host to about 10% of international students coming into Canada. Settling into a new environment for these students often comes with its own challenges. So what are those challenges?
The Calgary weather was really cold. The snow, although the Chinook was a welcome relief, you get some periods where it's not so cold, but it was a rude awakening for me because I'm from a hot climate.
One of the things I get asked the most or get complaints about is the weather, and I advise all international students, please try and get the appropriate clothing so you can be comfortable.
With temperatures dropping to -40 sometimes in the winter, what else do they have to deal with?
I think food. Yeah, because in Calgary, still not a lot traditional Chinese food.
I miss the food a lot, although I found a Nigerian store not so far away from school.
What support do they get from the host community?
Canadian people are pretty nice, especially for Calgary people. Calgarian make me feel warm.
Make friends with the locals. Calgarians are very nice people, and if you're able to interact and make friends with them, it makes your life way easier.
With institutions such as the Southern Alberta Institute of Technology, Bow Valley College, all based in Calgary, the students are happy to brave those challenges and call Calgary home. For SAIT Newsfile, I am Ubong Akpakpan.
Well, that was definitely interesting. International students coming to Calgary. They gotta like this warm weather.
Yeah, they definitely will for sure. So we're going to be seeing a low of -1 tonight, and it's going to be mostly like mixed sun and cloud as we tomorrow and then as we enter the weekend. But it'll be still nice to be able to get out and get to some patios on 17th or Stephen Avenue, Beltline, etc.
Yeah, I might just go sit in the backyard after the show's done and watch some playoff hockey. You know, that's pretty good right now.
Devils and Rangers, that's going to be a crazy series.
Yeah, it definitely will be. Well, that does it for SAIT Newsfile. We'll see you next time.